back to Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center. You know me, I'm Mary, your friendly neighborhood preacher teacher, trance channel, and angel medium. This is going to be a slightly different video because normally I spend a great deal of time preparing for you guys. I get some channeled messages through, I create an entire system, and then I teach for an hour. But this month, Spirit was talking in bursts, meaning that Spirit would say 3 words or 1 word. And I had to write that word down, and then Spirit never went back to that word. So what I have is a list of things that Spirit wants to talk about, but I haven't been given the answers. So we're just gonna roll with it and see what comes through live during this recording about what Spirit wants to get across today. And I know that there's a lot. June has been a really, really big month. And believe it or not, July is going to be an even bigger month. And by the time we get into August, you're going to be a completely different person than who you are right now and who you've been in the past. We just got out of our I Shine Inner Fire retreat, and I just want to touch base on that before we go into anything else, because words cannot express the beauty that was in that space. The people who showed up there were beautiful. They were excited. They were ready for change, ready to face their own fears and transform their lives, but not just for themselves, to shine bright for the universe, for you guys, for the collective. Because when one person shines their light, it inspires other people. And so next thing we know, everyone's light is shining. And that's what that entire experience was about. It was so beautiful, so heartfelt. Everyone there connected to everyone else on a heart level, which is what the mountain does, because the mountain is that heart space between the earth and sky, between the earth and the stars, right? It's all about that heart space, that open heart, that connection. And we all flowed together. We supported each other. We loved one another. And I'm telling you, I'm in this sweat lodge, right? And it's completely dark. And we're having to breathe deeply, to survive, because we think we're going to die in this space where it's so hot and you can't breathe. And I hear people, someone over here crying, someone over here breathing, someone grabs my hand, and I'm holding hands with somebody in the dark, and someone's behind me with their legs around me, and there's someone over here, and then I'm reaching out to someone over here. And it's just so beautiful the way these people showed up for themselves and received and then supported and held everyone else around them, how they helped each other, how they made sure that everyone got from point A to point B, how they checked in on each other or expressed their joys, their loves, their sorrows, their concerns. If one person was over here opening up and expressing and releasing, there were 3 or 4 people around that person supporting her and making sure that she felt that love. Nobody was completely alone. And everybody, even if they didn't attend or participate in every single event, everybody received something. Everybody transformed in their own way. And it was just a beautiful thing to witness. It was a beautiful creation to be a part of. The connection, the love, the joy. If you could not attend, I strongly suggest attending the next one or the one after that. When you feel called, because that's what it's about. It's about your calling, your transformation, who you want to be, and the things that you want to feel. But once you're there in that space, and it takes a lot of effort to get into that space, there's a lot of travel, there's walking, there's pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to take up space and to talk in circle. But once you're there, you find everyone so open to you and so loving, and everyone just wants to love you. Everyone wants to be part of your world and to share their world with you. So I cannot express the beauty of the people who were there and how they showed up for themselves and everyone else. And it was a beautiful experience in general with the mountain views. The mountain showed me a lot personally. So I hope the mountain showed everyone else a lot too. But I started channeling the mountain about a week before I actually went there, because as a trance channel, that was one of my parts, was to trance channel the spirit of the mountain in order to impart a blessing. So a week before this event, the energies of the mountain are coming to me and they're expanding my heart space, opening my lungs, opening my heart, and I end up with bronchitis. And I'm talking massive, can't speak without hacking, and I still have some remnants of that cough. I'm on cough medicine though. And so I'm dealing with that, but I know it's just the energies changing my vibration, morphing my temple into the perfect channel for that spirit to be able to fit inside of, in order to give its blessings and its energy, its wisdom and its words to the people who are coming. But I get there and the mountain is giving me visions. It tells me a story of the plants and the animal people, but everything looked in shadow. Everything looked dark. But I know that darkness doesn't mean negative or low vibrating. It just means of the earth. It means of those ley lines. It means the feminine energy. But then I saw that light come in, the sun was coming in. And so in my vision, in this story, it was two very separate parts, plants and animals. And I saw a lot of deer and the shadows. And then I saw the sun and the stars and the bright light. And I saw them merge together and become one. And the story was through vision that the mountain was giving me. And when I came to, the only thing I had written in my notes was an infinity symbol, and it said the eye line of the sun or something like that, where I was in the perception point of the sun, where my vibration had raised enough that it was like I was at eye line with the sun. And that's the mountain's perspective. The mountain's point of view is that it carries life. It was a feminine mountain. It carried life. It carried creation. It carried those deep energies that you could roll into and connect to, but it rose in wisdom and in love to be directly in line with the sun so you could absorb those energies. And it was just a beautiful space to be in. And when you're going through ceremony after ceremony after ceremony, it's really hard to describe what you're feeling and experiencing. But I will say that every single person, by the time they left that mountain, they were high vibrating. Everybody was riding a heart wave. And for me, it took days, almost a week, before I started to feel like different, something other than what the mountain was, because I was just so still, so content, so fulfilled in the heart space. It was all very heart-centered. It took a week before I started integrating that into my day-to-day life back home. So I just really wanted to touch on that and give you guys that beautiful perspective of mine, of being there, of all of the people who attended, all the work that they went through, all of the connecting that they allowed and the supporting that they did for everybody. And the facilitators were amazing. I thank them all for showing up. And the space itself was just so beautiful and inviting and transformative. And the spirit of the mountain gave me that story, that vision of itself, and shared that with me. So I wanted to share all of that with you. So Spirit, coming out of all of that, I think that Spirit knew, okay, well, she's going to be a mountain now. So now she just gets to channel the answers to all of these things that I've put before her to channel. So I have my handy dandy notebook here. The first topic that I wrote probably a month ago that Spirit gave me simply says, the act of becoming. The act of becoming. So let me tap in here. I'm feeling a bit of heart space, a bit of a third eye space. There's so much to becoming. The first thing that I want to mention about becoming on a personal level is how we just are. We already exist as the divine spark and as that person within, as that God within. We all came from source and we have that source energy. And so what's on the outside of that is our beliefs, our traumas, our insecurities, our imprints. All of those are the things that are on the outside of the divine spark. So when we think of becoming, it's not about changing inherently who you are. It's about removing these outer layers until you meet who you are, until you remember who you are. Can you imagine the things that you could accomplish on a day-to-day basis if you weren't sitting with, am I powerful enough for this? Do I deserve this? Am I capable of this? Is this too much for me? If you could go through your life doing exactly what you felt called to do without those other outside questions, will people judge me for this? Will people still love me if they knew about this? Will people think I'm weird if I do this? If we didn't have those outside thoughts, beliefs, or imprints, what could we accomplish if we were just ourselves? If we just allowed ourselves to be and just to exist? And then as we begin to become, there's a hierarchy that I'm seeing, like a ladder, not in this person's better than this person because we're all the same, we're all one, but there's a type of ladder of healers, teachers, facilitators, and students. And we're all on this ladder, all of us, not just one of us, and we're never stuck in one space. I, personally myself, show up to many things as the student, and then I show up to other things as the facilitator, and to other things as the teacher, and to other things as the healer, and then I'm back to the student again. It's a cycle. And every single person who I show up for as the student, I'm not just receiving, because when I show up as a student in my full power, I'm teaching the teacher how to teach. I'm teaching the facilitator how to facilitate. You're teaching as a student or as an attendee. You're teaching people how to take care of you. You're teaching people how to hold a safe container for you. And so when negative things happen, this is like the training moment. This is the learning for that teacher or for that facilitator. We need to do something different next time. We need to incorporate more of this thing next time. And when positive things happen, it's a reward for that teacher for having thought through that thing, for having put forth the effort to make this space a beautiful container for what they're trying to fill it with, for what they've been guided to fill it with. So every time you show up as a student, as a person, as an attendee, as a person needing healing or seeking healing from a healer, you are teaching that person how to be the healer, how to be the teacher, how to be the facilitator. And we need that. That's why we're never done being students, even when we are teachers, healers, and facilitators. There's always more to learn. There's always more to experience. And when we show up in a bigger power, we're pushing the teachers to be in a bigger power. So, for instance, when I first started learning about chakras a long time ago, I probably found teachers who were able to give me that medicine, and that was the fullness of their medicine in that moment. But as I learned that and integrated that and wanted the next thing, those teachers had to be ready to offer me the next thing. Or I found other teachers who had more to give, the other thing to give. And this is how it goes. So when we're regularly working with clients, we might have clients who are just starting out on their path, who don't really know a whole lot about energy. But then we have clients who've been doing this for 50 years and they know everything there is to know about energy, and they've worked through a lot of their own things. So these are the people who push you to be bigger, to hold more space, to know more, to deepen your own awareness, to rely more on spirit rather than your own understanding, because they want more and they're demanding more of you. And the more people demand of you, the more opportunities you have to expand and open yourself and become more. So for some reason, that's where my mind went off on this tangent. There's multiple layers to it. There's the becoming of you, and there's the bringing your fullness to every other space that you're in to help become more of you and to hold that container for other people. And something else is coming in around that. As teachers, I'm being guided to a third perspective here. As teachers, there's something about bringing your perspective into the client or into the attendee that's really, really important. That might be the empathy piece. So yes, you might be being pushed to open, to expand, to grow, to hold, but while you're growing and expanding and holding, bringing your perspective down a little bit to where the person you're holding is, to see what they need. What do they need in this moment? What will they need in the next moment? What can I offer them? Because you can only offer what you are. And that's a beautiful thing. You're giving them your pure medicine. But you don't always know what that medicine is until you can put yourself in their shoes. So if they're here to receive, and you're pouring, and you're pouring, and you're pouring, but knowing what they need after they've been poured into, because I'm pouring pure spirit, everything that I'm being guided to pour, but maybe afterwards they need time to rest. Maybe afterwards they need to integrate. Maybe they need to talk. Maybe they need to have some water and a meal. There's things that teachers, facilitators, healers, that you have to be able to meet each person where they are in their journey and see what it is that they actually need in order to continue to receive and in order to integrate what it is they've received from you. Spirit feels happy with this answer now. It feels a bit complete. So because these are all kind of disjointed lists of topics that Spirit has had me write down and put together, I hope that each of you gets exactly what you need, that one of these topics hits for you today. So just be present with it, because the next question that I wrote down is, can fear hurt you? I'm getting yes and no. And the reason is, fear is the opposite energy of love. Remember, everything I teach is from a space of love, from the heart space, from the open space. And if you're in fear, that means you're not making decisions from love. And if we're making decisions from fear, chances are we're probably making the wrong decisions or making the right decisions for the wrong reasons. And eventually, whatever actions or consequences have come from that, we're going to have to fix it later on. If I decide to do one thing because I'm in a state of fear, then later on down the road, I'm going to realize I have to pivot. I'm going to have to shift gears. I'm going to have to change something because I've started building a foundation on shaky ground, on an insecurity. So fear can have very real 3D results in our lives as we move forward. It can also hurt us because it gives us anxiety, depression, insomnia. Fear causes a whole lot of issues in the physical body that can actually be really harmful to us on a physical level. But the other side of that was fear can't really hurt us because fear is not real, right? Fear is a vibration created from a thought that we have. And our thoughts aren't real. Our thoughts aren't who we are. Remember, all we are is that spirit energy inside, that spark, that divine spark, that light, that oneness. That's who we are. And everything else is on these outer layers. So what we end up doing is when we're listening to the outer layers and the insecurities, the I'm not capable of this, I'm not good enough for this, this person doesn't like me. When we're on those outer layers, it creates fear in us. It creates a thought that brings a fear vibration, because everything is just vibration. Our thoughts are vibrations. Our emotions are vibrations. So we end up in this vibration of fear. That is not who we really are. It is simply the thing that colors what we are. It is not real, but it colors our reality. Think of a drawing in a coloring book. You have the bold outline, and you're the person who's supposed to fill that outline in with color, vibration, if you will. And so while the real picture is the outline, the boldness, the spirit, what you've colored it with is what makes the picture move and dance and sing and tell a story. And so fear is not a real thing. It's not a tangible thing. It's not a knife going through your heart. It's something that you literally made up in your mind and that you created, that you can also uncreate. You can change your mind. You can change your thoughts. You can change your reality by giving yourself a different thought to think and allowing yourself to believe the different thought that you're thinking. That's the difference between affirmations and actually rewiring your neural mindset, is that I can say an affirmation all day long, but if I'm not putting emotion behind it, power behind it, effort into it, energy into it, if I'm not concentrating on it, being intent on it, and allowing myself to begin to believe that affirmation, I'm wasting my time. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. I have to really focus in and allow myself to create beliefs that give me a different color, that give me a different vibration, so that when I create my coloring in my coloring book, it looks the way I want it to look. I don't want my coloring book to be filled with gray and black. I want it to be filled with beauty, with blues and golds and greens and yellows, reds. I want it to be filled with something gorgeous, something that I can wear proudly, something that feels like home, like me on the inside, something that feels like the soul, like divinity, like miracles. So yes, fear can hurt you if you allow yourself to be in that space long term. But keep in mind, fear is not actually real. So unless you hold to it long term, it cannot hurt you. Everyone has fleeting thoughts, but you don't have to attach to them, and you certainly can change them. Okay. The third topic that Spirit had me write down: trauma as a belief system. No question, just those words. Trauma as a belief system. Guys, trauma as a belief system. This feels big because we built healers around the knowing that everybody has trauma. I have a job because you got some trauma. I have become this person because I had some trauma. But what's coming through right now is another one of those trauma isn't real things. Don't shoot me. I'm the messenger here, okay? I'm hearing this word for the first time right now also, so let's sit with this for a minute. And this is coming through very strongly, where Spirit's like, I have set up experiences for you so that you get contrast, so that you understand what something is like, so that you can feel it fully, so that you can heal through it, so that you can become empowered through it, is the word that Spirit really wants to use. And once empowered through something, it's not that you're ignoring that something or pushing it away. It's that you are empowered through it, and you have the contrast of understanding so that you can also then bring that back around and heal and help and guide your fellow human beings. So Spirit is very strongly saying, I did not give that thing to you as a trauma. We agreed to have this experience together to empower you, whether in this life or the next, because time is relative to Spirit, while we as humans can only see right now. So when something bad happens right now, we're falling on the floor and we're crying and we're suffering and we're saying, God, help me. Why have you abandoned me? Why do you hate me? When Spirit's up there like, bro, we literally agreed that this would happen right now, and this is not the end of the world. I know it might feel that way to your human emotions, but in this life, or later in this life, or in the next life, or 20 lives from now, this is going to be your defining moment of power. This is going to be the thing that gives you that shot of empathy that the world needs. This is going to be the thing that raises you up, that sets you apart, that defines you as the brilliant, powerful spiritual being that you are. Spirit's saying trauma, the word trauma, needs to go in the trash pile. Delete. Trash pile. And instead of saying the trauma, we need to be saying our moment of empowerment. Have you ever heard of testimonies? Testimonies always start as like, I was in a dark place, or I had a disease, or this horrible thing happened, but then I saw the light. But then I met God. But then I felt love for the first time. And then the person's entire life is transformed and changed, and they're a completely different person, and they are happy and fulfilled, and they're there telling their testimony to other people to encourage and inspire other people, to motivate other people who might not be in their transformation space yet. So while we have been through some traumas, some really bad things have happened to us, and we acknowledge that, and we're gentle with ourselves about that, Spirit's reminding us, and just for whatever reason today really wanted us to know, that that word in itself is creating a belief system that you're broken. That word in itself is creating a heaviness inside of your vibration that says, I have to heal. I'm not good enough until I do. I'm not healed enough to do this for somebody else or to hold this space. None of that's real. Erase. Spirit says you are who I made you to be. You are beauty. You are power. You are empowerment. You are grace. You are joy. You are pure spirit because you are the divine spark. You are me. And don't you forget it. These are your defining moments, your empowering moments, and you'll get there. You'll get there. This isn't permanent. This feeling, this negativity, this heaviness isn't permanent. Be graceful with yourself and allow it to move. Allow it to flow. Allow it to shift. And I feel like I'm treading water here with this message, but it feels powerful and it feels beautiful for me to hear that message as well. Oh Lord, this next topic, I don't even know. We're really going to have to channel through. I wrote the words 9D in the now. So the ninth dimension, now. Give me a second. We got to have a conversation with Spirit here. Okay. I just keep hearing the words I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, is what I keep hearing. Ninth dimension. Let's think of this as if it were God as a whole, source energy as a whole, spirit, great spirit, if you will, as a whole. The third dimension, us, our human bodies. Sixth dimension, our higher selves. This is where we're talking to our architect, our higher self, our guidance, right? Ninth dimension, pure God, pure spirit. We are all of the dimensions in our vibration. We're all of our chakras all at one time. We just move through the different vibrations as our thoughts allow, as energies allow. We move through who we are at different times in our lives. Ninth dimensional frequency is very, very high, though, which means that it's not always we ever reach that space within our consciousness as a human. As a human, you're going to be in your two-dimensional space from time to time, and that's your duality. You're going to be in your third dimensional space, observing your own duality and learning how to differentiate that and step outside of that. You're going to be in your fourth dimensional space, coming out of time, really getting into your confidence and your empowerment. You're going to get into your fifth dimensional spaces. Everything's open, everything's connecting. This is that bridging of heaven to earth. So a lot of the time when we're doing psychic work or journeys, or we're in prayer or chanting or meditation, we tend to get up in the fifth, sixth, and sometimes even seventh dimensional spaces where we're connecting, receiving messages, talking to our higher self and our architect. But then we get to the eighth dimensional space, and what is this? Rarely do we ever see that ninth dimensional space in our human form. I can't even consciously tell you that I've been to my ninth dimensional space, although what's coming through now is that I have more than once. So the message that's really coming through here around this, I think, is simply remembering your God self, remembering your God spark, remembering that you are source energy and you hold that in your energy field at the same time that you're holding all of these other things. At the same time that you're holding your human self and your duality, you're also holding your God self. It's all here and it's all part of who we are, and it's all part of the experience. And we flow through all of these experiences. We're not meant to stay in our God self, but occasionally we will meet our God self. And our God self, there's no real thought. There's no real, what do I do next? None of that exists in the ninth dimensional space. It simply is. You simply are. That's that ninth dimensional space. But we're meant to flow through all of it and have all of the experiences. We're not meant to always be in our 3D self. We're not meant to always be in our 6D self. We flow through as it's needed because it's part of the rainbow that we are. We are just on this ocean wave of rainbows. in ourselves, of ourselves, outside of ourselves. There's a beautiful sphere happening that we get to move through, that circle of life with no beginning and no end. And now I'm getting another word. Instead of I am, I'm getting I love, I love, I love. And there's no end to that. It's not about just loving myself or loving you or loving nature or loving the animals. It simply is I love, I love. And I love that. That feels beautiful. Thank you. Okay. The next thing I have written down is forgiveness. From the perspective of the ninth dimensional self, there is no forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. Nothing. From the perspective of the ninth dimensional self, there's nothing but everything, if that makes sense. So there's nothing to forgive. There's nothing that was done. There's no trauma. There's just all things, just a oneness. So we really have to come down the dimensions to get to forgiveness. Forgiveness is something pretty human, I would say, because if there's something to forgive, it means that we're holding on to a place where we've been hurt. And if we've been hurt by something and it still hurts, it's probably because we've attached a thought to it, like this place, this thing that happened made me feel like I'm not good enough or that I am not safe. And this is where we're learning to forgive as we're learning to heal through that thing, as we're learning how to let go. So this is third, fourth dimensional space. I'm being told that that doesn't exist past the fourth dimension because the fourth dimensional space is love, bliss, openness, connection. And above that, forgiveness isn't even a thing. It can affect your fifth dimensional space by becoming blocked, but this is second, third, fourth, those dimensional spaces. I have a client. She knows who she is. And her words are in my mind right now, where forgiveness isn't, we've talked about this part before, where forgiveness isn't forgetting or ignoring that something bad was done to you. It's not saying it's okay that something bad was done to you, because it's not. It's not okay for people to not be kind, for people to not be loving, for people to treat you as less than. We know it's part of the human experience and that those things happen, but that teaches us what we are worth and how we do want to be treated. And we get to teach people how to love us, how to treat us, how to be loving, kind, empathetic, compassionate people. We get to teach people that by knowing what it feels like to have the opposite happen to us. But what this client said one time was, forgiveness is not putting any more energy towards the thing that hurt you. And I really love that, because when we think about forgiveness, in the healing realm, we're working on a certain thing. We're removing those energetic imprints. We're changing the thought systems that were created around that thing. But even without all of that, she said, forgiveness is when you can sit with something long enough that you're tired of giving it power. Remember, I said with affirmations that affirmations don't mean anything unless you focus on them, unless you work with them. You're putting effort and energy into them, because through your effort, you're pouring your energy into something and creating power. You're making a powerful space there. And she said that's what's happening when you don't forgive, when you're continuing to allow a particular person or event to keep hurting you. You keep thinking of that thing over and over and over again and replaying it and reliving it and re-hurting yourself. Anytime you think of it, you're putting your energy into it, and it's continuing to get powerful, because the more energy you put into it, the more power it has. And she said there comes a time when you have to draw a line, where you have to say enough is enough. I'm not going to put any more energy into that, because it's not going to continue to have power over my thoughts, over my emotions, and over my life. I'm not going to do that anymore. And you put your hands up and you wash them off and you move on. This is a beautiful process, because this is something that we understand when we go through negative things, that we want to nurture that inner part of us that was hurt. We want to tell her that it's okay, that she's okay, that it's okay to be who she is. And we do want to empower her to see that contrast and allow her to become empowered moving forward. But sometimes these things keep coming into our memory. We are humans, right? And sometimes I think we also want to, I don't want to use the word petty, but I'm thinking about it from my point of view, and sometimes I think we can all be petty, right? Where the person who hurt us in the past, we want to go look them up on Facebook and see how fat and old they've gotten, right? Like we want to see how ugly their new girlfriend is. We want to see them fail because of the way they made us feel. Because we're humans. And that's what humans do sometimes, to make themselves feel better. But then continuing to put energy into that at all, to care at all, continuing to stay friends with them on social media at all, continuing to reply to their text messages when they decide to reach out at all, continuing to allow the energy exchange to happen, or to pour energy into something that you know isn't for you, and you can feel that it's disempowering you every time you give your power to that thought, to that person. Drawing that line, breaking it, blocking it, whatever it is, brings your power and your energy back to yourself, so that you can more appropriately and accurately heal that space, change your thought processes. It's almost like sometimes the only way for you to stand up for you and to heal you is to say enough is enough. That's called rock bottom. Guys, rock bottom is where we've allowed ourselves to engage with a toxic behavior, substance, or person for so long that we have nowhere else to go, nothing else to lose, and we are finally like, enough is enough. That's rock bottom, when we're finally saying enough is enough. I'll do anything to change how I feel right now. That's forgiveness. That's forgiveness. While we're on that topic, I'm going to skip the next topic and go to a different one that was written here, and it says recovery. Just because we brought up rock bottom. Recovery is vices versus outlets, is what I downloaded. And I feel this a lot right now, because when we're talking about forgiveness, we have channels. It's like I'm seeing channels move through the body, and they're energy channels. So our thoughts, our vibrations, our emotions, our energy runs through these channels at different points throughout our body. When these points have certain little blockages in them because of stuck emotion, because of negative thoughts, because of the traumas that are there, it causes the energy to move through these channels in a very rugged, rapid way, like the rapids, the whitewater rapids. We get our energy isn't flowing, it's bouncing around, right? And when that happens, we as people express that as acting erratically, having emotions that bounce back and forth, or being super wild, or doing things that really aren't safe, maybe, but it's erratic. Erratic energy leads to erratic behavior. We think of people who do crazy, weird things, right? And they might have these traumas. People who have these traumas, people who have these blocked energy sources, act in ways that other people are like, why did they do that? That doesn't really make sense to me. And it's not irrational. We're not going to call it irrational because we've all been there, right? But there's something that builds inside of you that you can't explain, that you have to express. And that leads to vices because you're trying to control your inner white water rapids from exploding everywhere. And so we have vices. And these are things like smoking. These are things like drugs. These are things like sex. These are things like shopping. Even good things can be a vice if we're doing it instead of healing what's causing the white water rapid. If we have white water rapids inside, if we are erratic inside, if we feel our energy is going to pour out and explode, so we have to put something there, we have to build a dam to block it from spilling out everywhere or hurting people, that's a vice. And there's something there that we need to get to. We need to open those channels by removing that belief or that trauma or whatever's there and letting it flow. And then we can have outlets, because we do, as humans, have surges of energy, and they're not erratic as long as our channels are open. When your channels are open, those surges of energy are called inspiration. And then you can do beautiful, creative things with that inspiration. You can dance, you can sing, you can have ceremony, you can create art, you can create courses, you can channel that energy into things that create beauty, into things that help people, into cleaning your house. These surges of energy come through these outlets in beautiful ways when you don't have the erratic white water rapids inside of you. And this is a form of self-control. So self-control, when we're in a wounded state and we have white water rapids, it's like we almost don't want to control what's there because it feels suppressed. We do it so that we don't hurt ourselves or other people, but we can feel that we're suppressing something about ourselves when we place that control. Whereas when we release the trauma, the negative emotion, whatever it is that's causing that rapid, and we have that open channel and we express through outlets, in those moments, our modes of self-control are more healthy. It's this, okay, I'm ready to create something. I'm feeling this surge of energy, and what healthy space can I put this into? We all have intrusive thoughts. Even when we're in healed spaces, we have intrusive thoughts. But when we have an outlet instead of a vice, those intrusive thoughts can simply go away. We can choose to control them and say, that doesn't feel healthy. That doesn't feel like what's going to get me to where I want to be. That doesn't feel like something that's beautiful. That doesn't feel like something that's going to make somebody else feel good. That doesn't feel like it's going to make me feel good later. And so I'm going to choose to channel this energy into this other creative thing instead. And we are channeling those beautiful outlets. Okay, so now I'm going to back up to that last little point that that Spirit has on this paper. Depression as a defense mechanism. Guys, Spirit has me saying all kinds of hard stuff today, and none of this is my opinion because I have never even thought of this before. All right, talk to me because I don't know what this is. I am too comfortable here to push myself forward, is what I'm hearing. Depression is a very real thing with hormones in the brain. What I'm hearing, though, is that no one is born with depression. Babies are not depressed unless they've been through some traumas, unless they've been through some things that weigh heavily on them. Depression is a side effect of the heaviness that you're carrying. It's, again, one of these outer layers. Depression is a side effect of your outer layers and how much you're carrying around, like the weight of what you're carrying. But depression, not just being depressed, but depression is the long-term name for carrying all of these things. And that long-term name becomes part of the personality. It's how we label ourselves. We all get sad. We all can get depressed. We all have the capacity to be joyous, to be grieving, to be sad and depressed. We have the ability to be many different things. But when we add that ION at the end, it becomes our label. I never hear anyone say that in a positive way. It's, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have bipolar disorder. And these things, while they are real energetic disorders that are side effects from ancestral trauma, personal trauma, core wounds such as not feeling safe and rejection and abandonment and things like that, when we label ourselves in that way, it becomes a personality trait that we carry around. And if you're being presented with the opportunity to heal through that, and we choose not to, it's because we're so comfortable in the low vibrations and in the heaviness that it would require too much effort from us to push forward, to face our fears, to face the heavinesses that we've put on, to look at all of these coats that we're wearing and to take it off one by one. It's almost like there's a fear to meet the person that we are on the inside. That's what I'm seeing with this. Now, I'm saying this as a person who 15 years ago, I was on depression medication and anxiety medication and insomnia medication. Came off of all of them. I don't take any medications anymore. I've had clients come on depression medication and heal through enough that they slowly titrated off and felt like they didn't need it anymore because they had the capacity to understand their emotions and the things happening to them and deal with them in an appropriate way. I've had people and clients come through who stayed on their medication, but maybe adjusted it slightly or changed it to something that allowed them to be less numb and something more them while still having that aid. However anybody chooses is completely up to them. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad about depression or the medication. I am putting disclaimers in your message. Spirit's like, why are you putting a commercial in there? We need disclaimers because I can't have people like going off of their medications. I'm a human. They can't project that onto me. But what Spirit's really bringing forward is, are you brave enough to step into the heaviness that you have around you in order to meet the light person inside? And once you can meet that person inside, the heavinesses can just come off. And you can allow yourself to flow, to forgive, to be supported on the inside out, and become that shining person on the inside. Beautiful. there's like maybe 2 more topics that are here that I do have permission to wait until next time for. So what I want to do is actually close with a Ho'oponopono prayer. This is something that I've been kind of reciting and chanting to myself for the last couple of weeks. It's really coming up. And honestly, with the topics that we've been able to cover today, I think that they're very in tune, in line. They're very appropriate. So the Ho'oponopono prayer is basically just 4 things. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry acknowledges your part in anything that's coming up between you and another person. Because when there are disagreements between you and another person, chances are it's not just them, even if it really was kind of their fault, But there's something for you to learn as well. And whatever that is, it's okay to say, I'm sorry. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, it's okay to say you're sorry that that person is hurting the way that they're hurting, that they have that heaviness inside of them. Remember, this is a prayer. This might not be something you say to their face. This is something that you say, acknowledging all human beings around you, for your soul, and greeting their soul with this prayer. I'm sorry is the first part of that. Then there's please forgive me, which seeks that forgiveness that we talked about, not just from the other person, but also from ourselves. Because sometimes we're in situations where we did mess up, and we know that we messed up, and we're going to be the ones to beat ourselves up about it more than anybody else, right? We're going to be our own harshest critic right here. So allowing forgiveness from their soul, asking forgiveness from their soul, from their higher self, and also asking forgiveness from ourselves. The third part of this prayer is thank you. Thank you is so important, especially when we're having issues with another person, because this allows us to acknowledge that we are learning something from this experience, that this experience isn't a trauma, that this experience is our empowerment. It's our contrast of light and love. And so thanking every single person or every single soul that we have had issues with, it becomes a beautiful part of our spiritual practice as we move through life. And then there's the word, I love you, at the end. This brings us back to our heart space, back to oneness. I love you. Remember that 9th dimensional space that we can live right now said, I am and I love. I love myself, you, everything, all of these experiences, I love. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Beautiful. This is a beautiful, beautiful prayer. There's also a long prayer that acknowledges the ancestors, and that's something beautiful too if you guys ever want to look that up. But let's start with this Ho'oponopono prayer. You guys write that down, look it up. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And start saying this every day, multiple times a day. Say it in your mind when you're interacting with other people. Say it in your mind when you're interacting with yourself or remembering certain experiences, and see how it begins to change your life. It's a beautiful, beautiful practice. So, thank you for this different kind of video, allowing me to simply go over random topics that Spirit has had me jot down throughout the month, and for learning the Ho'oponopono prayer with me, I want to end it with a coconut blessing. So I just want you to watch this. So I call this the coconut blessing. And you can get a coconut from the grocery store or wherever. Crack it in half and gather all of the milk that's in there, that water. And what I do is I sit and I pray with it. And I dip my hands in the coconut milk and I spritz it like this all around my house, all around my personal space, my yard, on myself, on my children, on the doors, on the windows. And this blessing is about prosperity. It's about purification. It blesses everything. And then what I've done is I take the coconut, and this has, the meat in it. I don't eat the meat from the coconut because we're using it to cleanse the house and to, soak up negative vibrations. But I put it outside and let the ants and the bugs and nature take care of the inside and come back a few weeks later and I have this empty shell. So then what you can do is each morning when you do your chanting or your meditations or you're sitting with your angels at your altar, your guides, really come into your heart space. And you might start that by doing your Ho'oponopono blessing. And when you get to I love you, blow into this shell anything that you want to create in your life. You can put emotions in there. I want to create beauty. I want to create love. And just put those words, beauty, love, gratefulness, joy, family, connection, and blow it in there from your heart. And when you intuitively feel that this shell is full of your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, your energy is in this, I take this back to my altar and I just set it like this, letting it pour all of that out into the altar. It's holding it, it's giving it a home, but pouring it out all over the altar. And this creates a beautiful start to my day where I know that I'm pouring in to me because I know that my home deserves this, my life deserves this, my love deserves this, and so does yours. Try it.